Hey guys, it's Max with Max Tech, and we just got the brand new iPhone XR here in the office, so I'm excited to check it out and answer the biggest question that I've had about it. Does the screen actually suck? So I know there's been so much controversy on this new phone. It is using an LCD display that Apple's saying it's their best LCD display, which we'll see, but it is just over 720p resolution, which in the end of 2018, going into 2019, that does sound a bit disappointing. Now, this is also kind of their value phone, which in reality, it's still very expensive. Apple did a good job with marketing, making these $1,000 phones, and now a $750 phone is a value phone. But it is what it is. I'm sure they're going to sell a ton of these. As you guys could see, I do have the yellow model. This is actually going to be for day-to-day use for my wife, so that's why we went with yellow. It really does pop, so it probably is going to look good on camera. Personally, I really like the red, but it is what it is. So first thing, getting it out of the box, it feels a little bit thicker. And I think the specifications say it's thicker. Is that right, Vadim? And you do feel it kind of in the hand. But it is a nice size. It actually reminds me more of the 5.8-inch version compared to my iPhone XS Max. So that feels nice in the hand. Of course, you guys check out those bezels. I didn't think I would notice that much of a difference, but it definitely does pop out to you if you're used to an iPhone XS. I think Apple did a fantastic job creating this phone regardless of the bezels, because if you look at a lot of competition, even with OLED displays, you still have all these companies that have like a big chin at the bottom, their bezels are still pretty fat, and it's a lot easier to do this kind of a design where you have curved and with smaller bezels with an OLED and with an LCD, because of the backlighting, is very difficult to do this kind of design, and nobody else is doing it. So props to Apple on that. All right, so we're all set up and we're on the home screen here, and I already made a few observations which I'll share with you in just a second. But first impressions of the display, other than those bezels, of course, it still looks quite good. Now, if I kind of look at it, I could tell that the colors aren't as saturated. They don't pop as much. So it looks a little bit more faded, a little bit more muted on the colors and the contrast. And then just looking at the icons themselves, they don't look as sharp. I mean, you can tell. I mean, I love resolution. We're using a 5K iMac, a 5K LG Ultrafine, 4K projector, so I love high resolution. So looking at this distance, even though they say Retina display, you can't tell at a normal distance, I mean, I could tell. Now, does it look bad or does it suck? It definitely doesn't look sucky. I mean, I've looked at a lot of different Android LCD displays, and some of them really look terrible. Even if they have higher resolutions, like even the 2.7K on an LG that I had, the colors sucked, the brightness sucked. Even though it was high res, it was not a great screen. So I want to go ahead and max out this brightness here. And it does get quite bright. So this is the first thing I want to compare against the iPhone X. So here we are on Amazon's home screen, and the XS display, the OLED is definitely brighter. We have more contrast, deeper blacks. It does look better. This does definitely look like a few generations behind. So let's shift it to the side. And yeah, I mean, we definitely get noticeably darker kind of brightness shift when we go from the side, where the OLED stays almost as bright. So it is an inferior display. Now, Apple says this is their best LCD display. So we have the previous latest phone, the iPhone 8 Plus here. Turned off True Tone because the color differences were apparent. And looking straight at the phones, the iPhone XR is brighter. But interestingly, Vadim over there is saying that this screen on the iPhone XR off-axis is not as bright. And I can see the same thing now, where the off-axis performance isn't as good. Maybe that has something to do with the backlight, with all these curved edges and stuff, where they can't hide it as well. So before we take a look at some 8K footage on YouTube and compare it to the XS and XS Max, I want to show you something that just jumped out to me. I was trying to use a force touch here and pressing down, and it just wouldn't go in here. I was pushing down hard, whereas with the iPhone 8 Plus, you guys can see you kind of go in instantly. You just do a really hard press, you're in. Here you do a hard press, it's not doing anything. So you actually have to hold down for maybe about a second or so, and then you kind of get into the menu. So that's definitely something you might have to adjust to. So now let's go ahead and open up YouTube here. I have Japan in 8K opened up. And you can't actually watch 8K on your iPhone on none of these, even the ones that are high resolution. The max you can do is 1080p. So with the iPhone XS and XS Max, it actually takes 1080p and has to stretch it out a bit to fill all the pixels on the screen, whereas with the iPhone XR, it actually downsamples it to the display. We have True Tone on both, and the iPhone XS is warmer, interestingly. And then if you look at off-axis, the OLED screens actually get a little bit bluer, the color temperature changes, whereas the LCD doesn't. The white balance stays the same, but our exposure, it gets a little bit darker off-axis. So yeah, we're a little bit sharper on the XS. But definitely not as much of a difference as on the home screen. So if you look at the home screen side by side, you definitely see the icons are much more detailed, especially if you try looking up closer. But here, where we're pulling 1080p on both and downsampling it on the XR and then upscaling it on the XS, some of the shots where you have really sharp edges, you can see it a little bit, but they definitely are a lot closer than I would have expected. Now, I really wish YouTube were still supporting 1440p resolutions on the iPhone app. Here in the night shots right here, oh my goodness, that's a good display difference. So here on the XR, the black looks great, where on the XS, it is pure black, and it definitely looks a lot better. Yeah, we do have a little bit more detail, but I'm looking up close here. So I think if you're going to be watching YouTube videos, honestly, you're not going to suffer very much with this display. Overall, does this display suck? No, I don't think it sucks. I think most people are going to be very happy with it. The bezels do definitely jump out at you, especially if you are used to an iPhone XS or a XS Max or iPhone X. Going from this guy right here, the bezels look different just because they're dark, and they're a little bit thicker on the edges as well. But I think with the larger screen size and it filling up the whole display, you're not going to be that disappointed. Now, one other thing that I noticed is on the iPhone XS, it's like more slick on the screen. I don't know if it's the coating they're using, but it just feels a lot slicker. There's a lot less resistance, where on the iPhone XR, it just feels like there's a little bit more resistance, a little bit more drag. So holding them side by side, the last kind of opinion I want to share is this definitely does feel more premium. It definitely has something to do with the stainless steel. It feels really nice, really smooth. It has a little bit more weight to it, even though it's a smaller size. And here, it just feels kind of like a matte finish, like an iPhone, like a standard iPhone 8 or iPhone 7. So definitely not as premium feeling, but for the price point, with that A12 processor and having the same wide angle camera on here, I think this thing is going to sell really well. There's a lot of people that want to upgrade from the iPhone 6, 7, 8 to one of these. So I'm going to be doing a lot more tests with this. I'm going to actually switch to the iPhone XR for a week after using the 10 and XS for over a year now, and I'll kind of share my experiences with you guys. So make sure you guys are subscribed, make sure you guys have those notifications enabled so you guys don't miss out on that, and maybe we'll do some camera comparisons as well. This has been Max with Max Tech, and I'll see you in the next video.